Hey there, gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the video game industry because I feel like when a lot of us consider it from the inside, people like you and me, we're watching YouTube videos, I'm making reviews and stuff like that, we are definitely the most hardcore demographic. We're the people that are buying stuff, we're playing stuff, we're beating stuff, we're telling our friends about it, we're leaving comments and likes and stuff like that. But apparently, a new report came out last night by Matt Piscatella, a guy who basically has all the raw sales numbers about how well systems are selling and games are selling. He basically said that we are getting into an increasingly tiny group. The amount of people actually buying stuff is getting ridiculously small. Even hardcore, dedicated gamers, 80% of them, 85% of them are going to buy maybe 0 games or 1 game a year at most. Now, I want to talk about this entire interview because people seem to be very pissed about it, and I think his points are incredibly sound. And it kind of helps sort of shed light on how the industry can be making hundreds of billions of dollars, selling hundreds of millions of consoles. I mean, we're almost up to 80 million PS5s and stuff, but how is it that some games can sell so well or sell so bad? Like, just consider stuff like this. Unicorn Overlord sold 500,000 copies and is considered to be a massive success because it's a small budget with almost no advertising and people loved it, so it sold, right? Whereas Resident Evil 7, this game sold 15 million copies and oh my God, it pretty much rebuilt Capcom from the ground up. How can both of these be such big successes with such different metrics? I kind of feel like his interview sheds light on that, but let me actually see what he said. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I want to take a look at his quote before anything else, but I got to admit, I find it funny. A lot of people really do not like Matt Piscatella because he just posts sales numbers. And let's face it, if you love a game, if you hate a game, you know, some people like to cheer on a bad game failing or a good game succeeding. So some people are like, you're a liar. PlayStation just sold 95 million games. Full game. You're a BS. Okay, so let me start with the quote by Matt and see why it's pissing people off.
30% of people that play video games will not buy a video game this year.
Wow.
So that's
wild.
A third of the audience
0
that
games
just won't buy. A further 18% purchase a new game every 6 months or less frequently. So these are your folks that are buying Madden or EAFC, or they're picking up Call of Duty, right? Your big mass market only kind of buyer.
I do want to point out real quick, that's a lot of times what we consider to be the casual gamers, right? The COD people, the people that only buy, hey, here's the annualized releases. That's the one thing I'm going to buy. It's interesting to me because that is what's very much holding up the industry. That is still the biggest moneymaker, is the casuals that are buying one game or maybe a bunch of microtransactions and free-to-play games, but aren't, watching trailers. They don't know what the heck Star Wars Outlaws is, or Assassin's Creed Shadows, or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They're the people that are kind of holding up the industry. The big markets are those people that casually have a console, but really only play 1 or 2 games a year. But let me actually let Matt finish here.
The kind of purchaser that's watching this show, you're probably buying at least 1 game a month, maybe more. Only 12% of video game players buy a game once a month.
12%,
Only 4%
1 game a month.
Buy games more often than once per month. So
just keep that in mind. 4% buy more than a game a month. Now, obviously, that's still a lot of money. Let's say a lot of games, $70 now. That's spending $140 a month on games. I understand why that is such a tiny, tiny number, but I do think it's interesting with the amount of people that do buy that. I do feel like YouTube at times does feel like a bubble because I talk to you guys and we're all buying games. I'm reviewing a bunch of games. I'm playing a bunch of games. I, on average, beat about 50 games a year. So I beat almost a game every 6 days. So it's interesting to me when I think about times like this, where there are people that just are into gaming, but don't really know what's going on with gaming. And they're certainly not like hyper locked into the pulse of the industry. It's interesting how it feels like that 4% online, it feels like it's 80% of us when it's not. It's a very, very, very tiny fraction of a fraction. But
when we're talking about the developers and the publishers that are really being, hurt the most, that we're talking the most about, are the games that are really targeting this like 16%
psycho
of total players.
They're trying to be
that
your
are,
one game you buy a year.
Very frequently, while the mass majority of players are buying a game or two a year, and they're playing Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox. And I think that's like the biggest challenge. The biggest competitor to any new video game is Fortnite. I will die on that hill no matter what it is, because you have to fight Fortnite before you fight anything else to get your game seen and purchased. And that's like the biggest challenge I think happening right now.
Now, I think I understand why this quote is kind of pissing people off. It's because in a lot of ways, I do think that the gaming industry is much more malleable. At least it has been in the past, in that there will be new trends, there's new types, there's new games, there's new weirdness, and it always manages to find success, right? I think gamers do enjoy the challenge, the excitement, that task of learning something new. At least it seems like it, but the sales numbers don't really reflect it. I also do think it's interesting that Matt Piscatella basically says that all these companies now that are spending, $300 million on a game, they're trying to be the one game you're going to buy that year. And to me, I think it's interesting that they're all kind of assuming they can tap into that. Okay, this person's only going to spend $200 on games this year. We have to figure out how to make the biggest, most recognizable, most understandable, buy it, play it, beat it, talk about it, keep that sales engine going. It's interesting that that actual pool is so incredibly tiny. Now, I want to take a look at the replies. A lot of people are talking about the fact that there is a lot of stuff, new batch of copium for the streets. I did see some people say, I've never installed Fortnite. I'm a game developer's wet dream. I buy almost everything and I pile them up. Where is it? I saw some tweets saying this is why a lot of companies don't really care about making games. Hey, how can we make a game 60 FPS? It's why a lot of these studios don't seem to really care about if it launches slightly broken. They're trying to make it as low budget as possible so that if it doesn't become the one game you buy that year, it doesn't immediately dig a $500 million hole. He's right. Casuals and hardcore PS5 people buy stuff, but not Xbox. 20.5 million PS5 versus 2 million Xboxes. You're right. 75 million PS5 sold, but the game of the year, Astrobot, sold 1.5 million. The attach rate is abysmal. You're right, though. Casuals have chosen the PS5. Now, I feel like some people are trying to say this as a bad thing. It is interesting that I do think the attach rate, just in general, for everything is bad, except for Nintendo, obviously. But it is interesting to me that nobody is buying anything on Xbox because of Xbox Game Pass. The numbers very much reflect that, and that's why a lot of Xbox people don't like Matt Piscatella, because he'll, very correctly point out the fact that even the best, craziest, awesome, epic Xbox game, like Avowed just came out, it doesn't really sell that hot, which is fine. People got Game Pass. They don't have to buy it. But it is interesting that even something like Astrobot, that is winning Game of the Year from pretty much every publication, DICE, everything, selling 1.5 million units on 75 million consoles. That's very, very strange. But I feel like some other people actually bring up some extra interesting takes. Not to mention, 60% of gamers spend their time playing games that are 6 years or older. Now, we did a video talking about this, but there was a big, basically deep dive analysis that came out that said that a lot of people, they don't really care necessarily about playing the latest and greatest game. It isn't about, hey, I have to play this year's Call of Duty, this year's Madden, this year's big patch. I think it does come down to the fact that a lot of people are just trying to play games that are fun. And it is interesting that you can buy a copy of Witcher for dirt cheap. Witcher 3 is still long, fun. They got a free next-gen patch. It's great. And what is it? 10 years old now. I think we're going to start to see more of this, of the 4% of people like me and you who are buying games that are in there. But it's interesting to me the amount of people that are buying or playing older stuff or only free to play. I may be in the 4%, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I put more hours into Apex Legends than all the games I purchased and played this year. Yeah, I think this is a lot of people that are just playing Fortnite with the bros, people that are saying, hey, I want to check out Marvel Rivals or something like that. I think this is a fun thing. You're a casual if you don't buy 1 to 3 games a month. Most games do not incite me to want to buy them, or I might not be able to afford it because I prioritize my resources and spend appropriately. I can spend months on one game, and if it's good, I'd love to keep it, but not every game hits the same. I'm looking for games that feel like chess when most feel like checkers. Now, this tweet has 0 likes, but I feel like this is a great, in my opinion, what I consider an average hardcore gamer take. I buy a game. I don't care about if it's new or if it's old. I don't care if it's $60 or if it's on sale for $20. I buy the game I want to buy, and then I completely play it until it's fully done, or I'm bored of it and I move on, and I'm only going to buy the next game that's going to engage me that much. I think a lot of people, this is their mindset. I've been playing some World of Warcraft in my free time between reviews. This year, this year being an exaggeration, I've been playing for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and a lot of times I like to talk to people while I'm running dungeons or killing bosses and stuff like that. And something I saw a lot of people say is, I only play World of Warcraft. I do not play anything else. If this game fails or the community collapses or my guild implodes or whatever, I'm just going to quit the game. I'm not going to move to a different Blizzard game. I'm not going to move to Minecraft. I'm going to play this one game, and if it's not good enough, I'm just going to permanently quit and get into movies or books or something like that. And to me, that was eye-opening. They're playing games 30 hours a week, 40 hours a week, ridiculous numbers, but they're not just constantly spending hundreds of dollars every single year to get every single new big release. I think gamers into a spot where it's not just that they're broke. I do think that we're getting to a spot where the bad games outnumber the good games. So even when something does get top score review scores and you watched a live streamer play, you watched reviews and stuff, you still might say, okay, but is this going to be my one game of the year? I don't know. It's an interesting point, even if people are mad about him saying it. But what do you think about it? Are you excited for gaming in 2025? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.